Hey y'all, welcome to another video from wreckingout.com. Today's project is a fun one. I'm pouring my own jigs and sinkers using do-it molds. There's a lot of molds out there. These are by far my favorite. All the hardware that comes with them just fits real tight and they just go together really nice, and I've had great luck with them. The first thing I'm doing is preparing the mold so the lead will come out of it easily. The mold is made of aluminum and the lead will want to kind of stick to it. You can combat this by taking an unscented candle and running the flame wherever the lead's going to touch. This will get soot everywhere and will allow that lead to slip out of there easier. You can see I've already prepared this one in the past, so this should be good to go. So before I start jumping into pouring lead, I want to show you how I keep myself safe. So I actually take it outside to a well-ventilated area. I use welding gloves, and even outside I use a respirator just to keep myself safe from those fumes. I actually have two pots that I melt the lead in. One is just cast iron that I put over a propane burner, and the other is an actual hot pot that you see here. The hot pot's a little easier to use just because it's smaller, but the other pot can handle larger amounts of lead. Now that I have the lead in a molten state, I just take an old screwdriver that I use for this purpose and I scrape what's called slag off the top. This is just impurities that I want to scoop out because I don't want it in my jigs. So just scoop it out and I put that on that wood. Alright, so then you always want to work with a warm mold. So put the mold on top of your hot pot, probably as you're heating up that lead. This one's already warm, but I'm just showing you what I typically do. At this point I can pour what's called a test pour. I want to make sure before I put any hardware in there that I'm getting a full pour of the entire mold. So I'm just slowly pouring that in, and as you can see it almost instantly solidifies. When I open this up, what I'm looking for is that top to bottom, the entire jig is poured. So if I do a close-up of this, you can see that the nose looks good all the way down to the end. There's no wire to hold the hooks yet, so we'll get to that next. I'm going to pull out the test pour, and I'll just slip it back into the pot, and it will just melt back down because I'm actually going to pour this into an actual jig. So with your mold prepared and warm, now all you need to do is add the hardware. Do-It has hardware for all of their molds, and there's little notches that hardware will fit in, so when you close the mold it will hold it tight. So I'm just putting in what will be the eyes of this jig, and then I'm closing it tight. And then it's just a matter of doing a nice even pour just like you did on your test pour. So make sure there's no slag, and then just do an even pour and let it spill over a little bit. We'll take care of that spillover at a later stage. And just let this set. And when you open it up, you should have a perfect jig. So now it's just a matter of rinsing and repeating on our other molds. So we're going to do that same technique on a flutter jig. And so you can see that one here. And then I'm also going to show you how I pour my 4-ounce lead. I'm actually not going to keep this one, so I'm not putting hardware in it. But same thing can be done to pour pyramids. And there you have it. These are the two jigs we're going to be working on. So the next stage is going to be removing that excess. Just use side cutters, and that will cut real close. It'll leave a little bit of a burr, but cut off that extra lead and you can reuse that for future pours. So I'm cutting it off the flutter jig right here. And once that's gone, it's just a matter of taking a file and finding that burr and then just slowly working that burr down, and we're eventually going to paint over that. And that's all it takes. Now just keep an eye out for my next video where I'm going to show you how I use an airbrush to bring these to life. Thanks.